This is George Sicalius, and this is Sprint 3. Um, so this week I got the managers working for the updatable, alarmable, and drawable. They're multi-tin, so every scene has its own pair of these three. Um, so how I have it set up is a game object has to register in order to be updatable or in order to be updated or drawn within the game. Um, so how that happens is uh, an object calls submit registration, um, which that will which that does is it passes a token to the command broker, which I called scene registration. That just puts it on a stack. At the start of the next frame, um, in the scene's update, execute command is called. What that does is it goes through the stack of tokens that was passed to it, and just calls execute. All execute does is it calls the corresponding register and deregister for the given class. Um, so actually looking at the code. So this is scene. So first thing that happens within the update is all of the tokens that were given to the command broker are executed. Um, and then I process the alarms, process the updates, and then in draw process the register draw elements. Um, so can look at updatable. So the user can call submit registration, but they don't have access to register and deregister. It's done, I believe, through the scene. I have it set up. Yeah, okay, so I do it through the scene. Um, yeah. Um, so that's updatable. Drawable, it's looks basically the same. I mean, they do the same thing, essentially, except one updates and one draws. Um, so the other thing was the alarmable, and just the alarmable manager. Um, so for the most part, it's really similar to update and that stuff. It has to go through the same registration process. I had to do for actually registering and deregistering. I had to play around with the asserts. I decided to, instead of going for an assert for deregistration, just have an if statement. Um, so if a user, well, the way I have it set up, actually, I'll pull up Alarm Manager, is when the alarms are processed, it immediately deregisters them, so that if the user were to reset the alarm within the alarm, like this. So reset the alarm inside the alarm, they'd be able to do so. That wouldn't interfere with the asserts. But if they do keep resetting themselves within the alarm, then I have them deregister. They have to deregister themselves. So ship has to deregister itself. I think I have one in, yeah, alarm. Alarm, it only calls once. It doesn't reset itself. So, oh, I do. So I deregister it, but it doesn't cause any problems with the alarmable. Um, so alarmable manager. So I'm storing the actual alarms within a multi-map. Um, and then what I'm doing in processes alarm is I'm checking to see if the first float, which would be the lowest float, I guess, um, to see if that is less than get time, the current game time, I guess it'd be called. If it is, then it'll execute the alarm and deregister it. Otherwise, it just skips over it. So this way, I'm not checking all, all of the alarms at once. I'm just checking the first one. If the first one isn't reached, then the other ones aren't going to be activated either. Um, yeah. Within the all the ubbles, they have a reference to their is that it? No. They have a reference to their iterator within uh, the manager. So I pass that to them in when they actually register, pass that back to the actual object which is stored, so that um, when an object deregisters itself, it passes back its so deregister. No, right here. Okay. So when it deregisters itself, instead of searching through the list, it just passes its delete reference back to the um, back to yeah, it just passes it back to the manager and then calls a race. So it's not actually searching through the data structure. It's doing it in constant time. Um, just small things from issues from last week. I cleaned up my game object. It's not holding any graphics objects. I cleaned up my scene manager. It only holds the current scene. It's not holding a list of scenes or any of that stuff. Um, that's yeah, I think that's it. Okay.